To call our meeting to order. Hi, everybody. I'm Amy Wolkowinski, Chair of the Sustainability Commission, and I'd like to welcome you all to our first official meeting of 2026. So happy New Year, and hope everyone had a good holiday break or a break of some sort. Let's move on to our roll call. Amy Wolkowinski, Chair. I am here. Mary Metzger, Vice Chair.
Here.
Commissioner Bourne.
Here.
Commissioner Carlson.
Here.
Commissioner Conkle.
Here.
Commissioner Lammy.
Here.
And Commissioner Skurlock.
Here.
Excellent. Everybody's here, and it's great to see you all. Always nice. Commissioner Lammy, would you please read our land acknowledgement?
The Sustainability Commission humbly acknowledges the ancestral homelands of this area's indigenous nations and original stewards. These lands, still inhabited by native descendants, border mountains sacred to indigenous peoples. We honor them, their legacies, their traditions, and their continued contributions. We celebrate their past, present, and future generations who will forever know this place as home.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to item number 4, which is public comment. At this time, any member of the public may address the commission on any subject within their jurisdiction that is not scheduled before the commission on this day. Due to open meeting laws, the commission cannot discuss or act on items presented during this portion of the agenda. To address the commission on an item that is on the agenda, please use the Teams chat function. The chair will then recognize you when it's time for public comment, and staff will unmute your microphone if needed. Do we have any public comment today? Okay. I'm going to take that as a no and move on to agenda item number 5, which is approval of the minutes. I did not have a chance to review the minutes. Was anybody able to review the minutes? The link wasn't working on the agenda for me. So I don't know if that was a me problem or if that was a larger problem.
You can serve it by, does anybody have a problem? If there's a statement is a problem with it, speak up.
Does anybody have any feedback on the minutes?
And just to be clear, this is from our November.
From our November meeting.
Yes. Yeah. Let me make sure the link's working.
I had no problems with it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I do have them pulled up on my computer if anyone wanted to skim through it, but that's
So
optional.
you're responsible to approve them without.
I agree. I rarely find issues in them, but I would love to just kind of skim through them real quick. That'd be
Yeah,
great.
absolutely. Do you want me to bring my laptop to you, or did you want to?
Can you put them on screen?
Oh, that's a good question.
It's going to move.
Or send me a link?
Yeah, here, let me pull up the official minutes then.
Well, you're gonna send it to everybody?
Will you put the link in the chat? Yeah. Okay.
Chat have to do with AI. There's somebody out there creating new words.
Apologies for the delay, but Tom, I agree with you. Commissioner Lammy.
Our stickler for rules.
You missed the conversation we had when we first came in.
Oh, okay.
You don't need to know it
Later.
later. We'll keep you in the dark.
Just tell me later. You know what? How about if we table this item and come back to it, and then we'll get the link in the chat and we can all screen it and come back to it. Thank you so much for doing that and sharing the link. So with that table, we'll move on to business. Joining us this evening is Erin Young, the Water Resources Section Director, to talk with us about water supply planning. So thank you so much for being here, Erin. And just as a reminder to the commission, this has been a really long ongoing process with a lot of stakeholders involved. And so Erin's presence here tonight is just to give us an overview and information. So let's see. Yes, she is not here to collect feedback or input, just to give us information.
Ouch.
I mean,
So don't talk to her. Don't say anything to her.
that's not the purpose of her visit, but
Well, we listened to the
conversation.
No,
Oh.
that's been an interview that went, this one for 120 minutes or something. Like,
We won't do that.
adding their
I
own.
appreciate that
We're-
because we could definitely
Yeah.
probably go down rabbit holes, but if you
Only
do
if there's
have,
water at the bottom.
there you go. Funny. Definitely would be looking in that rabbit hole. But if you have any questions or would like clarification or for us to come back, we definitely want to know what the hot topics are for you. Obviously, water planning, it's for the entire city and, you know, and in this case, kind of across the region. So your input is very important. This might not be the venue for that level of discussion. I am planning to share with you a presentation we gave to City Council in October. And I was just going to provide kind of a high level overview from those slides to provide an update on where this particular project is at. The Bureau of Reclamation is giving their slides in 50 slide detail next Friday, and you could join the Coconino Plateau Watershed Partnership to hear this from the Bureau of Reclamation. So yeah, with that, I'll try to keep it to 15 minutes, and feel free to, you know, ask any questions if needed. The title of the talk to City Council was Regional Water Supply Planning and Work with the Bureau of Reclamation. And before I launch into these slides, this was the introduction to the Bureau of Reclamation talk. The city has actually been involved with Bureau of Reclamation water planning for 30 years. Through the Coconino Plateau Watershed Partnership, with some side projects that were directly with the city. So as you stated, yeah, this work goes back for decades, looking for sort of regional water resources for the, you know, region. So tribes and other municipalities, Williams, Flagstaff, Page, Grand Canyon National Park.
Page, we included Page.
Yeah, they're within the CPWP area, so.
I like Page.
So going back a couple decades, after a significant drought impacted Upper Lake Mary water supply was basically dry, city was drilling emergency groundwater wells, 2,500 feet deep, in response to a significant drought. And just on the tail of that, the voters approved a bond for $50 million to acquire or develop property or water rights. With those funds, Flagstaff decided to purchase Red Gap Ranch. East of Flagstaff, 40 miles, it is a combined 23,500 acres of land. So 8,500 of that is deeded to the city, with 15,000 acres in between of state land. So with that purchase, the previous landowner did their due diligence to prove the ranch as a water ranch. It had a lot of water, you know, hundreds of years of sustainable water development were the projections that were made. So the city purchased the ranch for $7.9 million in 2005. And since that time, we've been scoping it as a regional water solution. We haven't necessarily needed it, you know, immediately during the last 25 years. But as we see these wildfires occurring, LA, north from the Grand Canyon, even within the urban watersheds, it makes us more and more nervous that 85% of our water supply right now, Upper Lake Mary, the Lake Mary wellfield, Woody Mountain wellfield, interbasin is within forested terrain. So we're thinking Red Gap Ranch is very attractive in terms of resiliency from wildfire. Even these extreme wind events that we're having where APS is shutting down power, it shuts down power to our wells. We have some backup water supply or backup power, but not enough for an extended period of time. So anyway, the discussions around Red Gap Ranch and the potential for a regional water solution with the Bureau of Reclamation's interests, because with the Bureau of Reclamation can come significant funding. Also part of it is the power side. So we've talked with Nicole and Jenny and Danae about, the Bureau, they do work on water and power projects. So anyway, it's kind of an exciting point in time. So we provided a list of what we call our due diligence since that 2005 purchase date, like all the sort of work we've been doing to continue to secure Red Gap Ranch as a water supply that we could potentially develop anytime in the future. So kind of all the soft cost items that we've secured right of way. We've done a lot of engineering studies. It's not something we would sink a lot of money into without knowing a lot of information. So I'm not going to read all of these, but we have been in touch with the Bureau of Reclamation formally through our mayor and through city council to continue to advocate for attention to Red Gap Ranch. Yes.
That's a question, and it's primarily my naivete. The reason that the forested land is a negative is because once the trees burn down there, we can't get to the water. I don't understand. I'm kind of curious about
So
what that's
first,
like.
it's just sort of a catastrophic wildfire burning up our infrastructure.
Okay.
Second can be like monsoon events, what are just normal monsoon activities on a burned environment can wash
Okay.
sediment like into Upper Lake Mary. So we'd have to dredge and also have more pre-treatment of the water to get the
Basically,
turbidity.
the side effects of
Yeah, the side effects. Side effects and direct effects if it burns up the wells themselves, like in our infrastructure. The power line.
like we're seeing at the North Rim right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So Red Gap Ranch as a resource, this was Nicole's slide on the power side of things. So I'm not going to talk about this because I have not, and Jenny could probably answer questions if you have any. But we did present to council kind of this power potential.
Yeah, and for years, right, Aaron has brought Nicole in, to really look at, okay, we have this land, right? What does this look like from a renewable energy resource perspective? Particularly because there are really great power needs involved in pumping water just from underground, as well as pumping water 40 miles.
It's 40 miles out there.
West and up. And so there's a lot of different aspects to this, but that has been a part of the conversation for years.
And, it's interesting to think about the pipelines that we have today from Upper Lake Mary and to the wells, connecting the Woody Mountain well field to town, and interbasin is 11 miles. So in total, we probably have over 40 miles of infrastructure today. So just a perspective.
There was one, but wasn't there an issue relative to the land usage, the native land usage to bring the piping from the ranch to the city? Wasn't there some discussion or problem with that?
So
Somebody talked about it.
I do have another map that will show the alignment, but you're correct. So from Red Gap Ranch along I-40, we cross, Hopi lands, Navajo lands. In 2005 or so, 2008 actually, Jacobs Engineering looked at multiple alignments. So you're probably remembering them presenting the multiple alignments to get water from Red Gap to the city. And one of those was crossing Hopi, and that was a hurdle. So now the preferred alignment is within the I-40 corridor, and we do have an agreement with ADOT that they'll work with us on the engineering of a major pipeline, water pipeline. So now we're not crossing Hopi land. and I have a map coming up. So that's the end of that slideshow. I'm gonna pull up,
I knew it ended up going on the freeway. I knew that was the ultimate result, end result was, we'll just put the pipes along the freeway, what the heck?
yeah, and ADOT at first was like, heck, no, we don't want, what if there's a water break and you've got water, across I-40? And however, Mayor Neighbors worked with our team and ADOT to come up with solutions like check valves and things that we can engineer a solution for that.
A lot of engineers on our committee, our department.
And am I still sharing my screen? I
Is
think
the
you might have to
aquifer
reshare.
itself accessible from the native lands?
So it is still the sea aquifer. And Red Gap Ranch, I'll pull up a map, but it borders the southern part of Navajo Nation. So same aquifer, sea aquifer. And in fact, the Navajo have proposed a well field just north of that boundary, the Loop well field.
Okay.
Sorry, my voice is a little scratchy. So this is the presentation provided by the Bureau of Reclamation to City Council. They are giving this talk next Friday at 10 a.m. So you can join in through Zoom, and I can forward, I guess, Jenny, the link to that to share. So we're.
Let's do that.
Sorry, we had an echo in the room.
Yeah. Sorry, guys.
Oh, that's
I
okay.
know. Not the first.
Did you raise your hand before you made that noise?
Apologies.
So just the title of this is the value planning study, and this was proposed by the Bureau of Reclamation as kind of a good starting point. A value planning study is designed to bring together stakeholders or identify stakeholders who might be interested in their appraisal study process, which is getting more serious for defining a preferred alternative. And then the next step would be a feasibility study where money is involved, like dollars to match the design cost and the build construction cost. So that's really where you have a federal designated project at that point. So our goal is to get to an appraisal level study, and the Bureau proposed the value planning study as a starting point. So as part of the value planning exercise, the folks in the room, we got together for a week-long workshop, and we also had like a one full day field trip out to Red Gap Ranch with a bunch of Bureau staff, probably 10. The Navajo Nation joined us. We had Vice Mayor Sweet came along, Shannon Anderson from the city manager's office. So it involved like a whole many layers of folks. And we got into a room for a week and we were like, okay, what are the options? What's the problem? What are the water resource options? And so this is kind of showing the alternatives that were discussed in more detail. You can see water coming from the Colorado River. Lake Powell, that's been on the table
for you.
Right. So, okay, so you should have been in our workshop.
Yeah.
So, you throw out these ideas and then you talk about the challenges and the positives and the negatives, let's say. So we did that for all of these alternatives. And then in the value planning report, there are lots of details covering the issues with all of these. And let's see here. I'm gonna go through these slides because I did not redact them for this talk, but you can see all the people who are involved. So going back through the 30 years of discussing water resource challenges in the region, there have been many studies that have already identified like a water supply shortfall exists for Flagstaff and the Navajo Nation. The Hopi tribe elected not to participate in this value planning work, by the way. It's been identified, as you are all aware, that there is a high risk of a catastrophic climate or catastrophic wildfire. So what Flagstaff is like in the 99th percentile for communities at risk. And we all know brackish groundwater is expensive to treat. And in the sea aquifer east of Flagstaff, the groundwater gets very brackish. So it would probably require reverse osmosis or some other treatment just to reduce the saltiness. The Navajo Nation does anticipate significant economic development along I-40. So at Twin Arrows, they're proposing a glittering mountain, which they've been telling us is like a tuba city. And they have lands near Cosnino that they plan to develop as housing for Navajo folks working or going to school here in Flagstaff. So that's just not too many miles east of here. So they actually have a lot of land that they're proposing to develop, though water supplies haven't been identified yet for those locations. And of course, we have our Red Gap Ranch. So this is sort of the background that's fed into the study.
So the water, and I'm sorry, I didn't raise my hand. So the water that's at Red Gap Ranch is also water that can be accessed with the Navajo Nation. I mean, it isn't like, this is our water, you can't have it. It's going to be something, and of course, the Navajo Nation is very high in population, but not in this area, so it's not like we have to worry about thousands of people. But so the dialogue is just really basically, let's all be friends. Is that basically what's going on?
Well, when you said let's all be friends,
Yes.
like I looked to our city attorney.
Yes.
I don't know if that
Who's our
really
best friend?
needs to like say anything, but I'll just start by saying the water rights and use of the aquifer. There is the Northeastern Arizona Indian Water Rights Settlement Agreement that
Yes.
was signed by Governor Hobbs last year.
Okay.
And the act is in front of Congress, or hoping to be in front of Congress to adopt. But there are many details about pumping groundwater in NORSA.
Water laws are some of the most complex and aged, oldest laws in the country.
Yeah, so I won't talk water law, and I don't know if Sterling wants to jump in, but the Bureau of Reclamation takes all of that into consideration, like what the agreement is, let's say, and honoring the agreement or water rights of the parties. So
There's been a lot going on relative to the indigenous tribes and water ever since the CAP, which was in the 70s. That's a huge Arizona state issue. It's because I'm old, I know that stuff.
well, and what potentially pumping groundwater at Red Gap Ranch, it really affords the economies of scale. So the Navajo are already looking to develop their loop wells, but they don't necessarily need a great volume of water, but it is expensive to treat. So if the city needs, we're looking for 12,000 acre feet of water, let's say, and they might need 1,000. But the economies of scale and engineering a project together is hugely potentially beneficial. I do see Sterling has his hand up. Sterling, are you?
Yeah, Aaron, I do. You have spoken true when it comes to NORSA. Sorry, that's the acronym. The Northeast Arizona Indian Water Rights Settlement Act was something signed by Governor Hobbs and several other parties, including the mayor of the city of Flagstaff, tribal chairs for the Hopi, the Navajo, and the San Juan Southern Paiute tribe, which does not currently have some reservation land carved out, but this agreement, if it becomes an act, would actually create that specified reserved area for the San Juan Southern Paiutes. So there are many things wrapped into this, but what you spoke true about, Aaron, was it creates the basically the numbers between the tribes, the city, and other entities as far as how much water can be pumped and when and where and all of that. So I won't go into any more detail than that because it is very complex and it took months, actually years. The case has been going since 1978. So it's a very momentous settlement that is proposed, and hopefully it will go forward as an act. Thank you.
Thank you. My voice is super annoying.
So I
Sorry.
heard I heard in there the
I didn't
underlying,
bring any water.
the underlying notion of allotments, water allotments.
Yes.
Okay.
And I should say, I'm not sure we've had Sterling on a call with us in a while. So that's Sterling. Sterling Solomon is our city attorney. Thanks, Sterling.
Correct. Thank you. Sorry, Jenny, I didn't introduce myself,
Well,
but
that's
I appreciate
okay.
you introducing me. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, we also have our
Absolutely.
director, Lee Williams, on the call.
Oh, excellent.
Hi, everybody. Lee Williams. Sorry, I'm a bit under the weather and I'm not there in person, but I'll be listening in.
Thank you,
Picture
Lee.
reflects it.
So the goal of the study is to, and this was developed by the Navajo and the city and the Bureau together, provide a, thank you, resilient, bottled water, I'll do it. I'm gonna let you read that so you don't have to listen to my scratchy voice. Okay, thank you, that was super kind of you. So the Navajo laid out kind of their concerns and opportunities. They have other projects with the Bureau of Reclamation looking for water for their Southwest Navajo Rural Water Project service area. So hard to see on the map, but on the far west side is Loop. And then they have these trust lands and lands that they've purchased, you know, between Loop and Flagstaff, so. And they would like to economically supply water to these areas. For Flagstaff, our concerns is meeting our build out water demand modeled at 16,500 acre feet. So today we're providing about 8,000 acre feet of water to the community. So essentially doubling how much water that we're providing today. And this is just a chart showing a growth scenario, one scenario of what our water supplies to meet that future water demand. We have many of these different scenarios, but the big thing is really this wildfire risk and how something like the fire that happened on the North Rim would be pretty devastating to the community. And we might not be able to provide water, basically, if something like that happens. So this project becomes much more, it kind of moves the timeline to have it sooner than later if we can. And if you build something expensive sooner, it's much cheaper to build it now than it will be in the future as well. So maybe the stars will align. So other opportunities for Flagstaff, just collaboration with the tribes. And it supports our regional plan and Coconino County general plan and just providing water to meet build out in those plans. So you can kind of maybe bringing in developing clean energy would be amazing. So with that, I think I might stop here.
Bless you.
There is a map I wanted to show you. Let's see. Well, I'll just, do I have, I think I've gone over my time, so I'm okay.
That was interesting, that whole 3D map.
Well, so in the value planning study, they focus on just big picture, how much water, what are the quality of the different options, when is the water available, and where is the water, and where does it need to be. So as a group, sorry that I'm skipping ahead. as a group, we talked about, we went through this function analysis, which was super cool. It was like, there's the how on one side and the why on the other, and then the vertical is the when. So we talked about like, okay, we need to meet needs of communities. So how? We have to supply water. How do we do that? We deliver water. How do we do that? We have to convey and treat water. And then going the other way from the why are we constructing a pipeline? We looked at defining the scope. Why? To identify stakeholders. So we kind of worked on this as a team. And it was really pretty cool. And then through the results of the function analysis, we threw out all these ideas for water supply solutions. And keep in mind, these are regional water supply solutions. This doesn't mean that the city won't further investigate what we can do with our reclaimed water supply, like direct potable reuse or indirect potable reuse. But thinking as like regional solutions, we talked about 146 ideas. And through using that function analysis, we developed a criteria. And through a weighted criteria evaluation, we landed on, I'll skip this one, on like a ranking of alternatives. So, you know, considering water from the Colorado River, considering just city of Flagstaff, you expand your well fields, like where else can you look for groundwater? What rose to the top was pumping the municipal wells at Red Gap Ranch. Where the treatment, like reverse osmosis, let's just say, could occur in 3 different locations as per our discussions. But in general, the consensus was Red Gap Ranch is very attractive. It ranked high given like the considerations.
Lots of space out
Yeah.
Trees.
So, yeah, no trees to burn. What was pretty unique also is with the Navajo and the city, we were like, well, what do we think our community criteria is? And what's sort of the ranking of those? So partner acceptability was ranked the highest. Just having a resilient water supply, protecting groundwater was very important. So, you know, all of this will be published in their report.
What do you mean by partner acceptability? Do you mean like that working together is a positive direction?
Yes.
And if that breaks down, that'd be one of the most critical negatives.
And this could include, you know, Hopi tribe in the future or any other water users.
Ranchers, I would think.
Yeah. So I hope that kind of provides like enough information that you kind of know what we're doing with the Bureau of Information. Of course, if you can join on Friday for the Zoom, Del Smith out of Denver will go through this, and he's really smooth talking about it, you know, because he's done a ton of these value planning studies. So,
Did you have the guy that's the chair of the state water guy? He's been in a couple of meetings that I've been to, and it's very much he's in as well. I can't remember
is
his name.
that Tom Bushotsky?
Yes.
Yeah, he was not part of this, but it triggers me to remember to tell you that we've received a lot of letters of support from Senator Kelly and the governor's office. And so Tom Bushotsky, he's the director of ADWR, you know, they're definitely rooting, you know, for projects like this. So
This is very impressive. I was raised in Casa Grande. So the experience with CEP and all the farmers and all the problems they had. And I don't think they had done any of this kind of forward thinking relative to water supplies. They just keep developing housing and hoping, closing their eyes. It's ridiculous.
well, you know, yeah, the development that we see in parts of the state that seems uncontrolled, it's, you know, outside the active management areas where at least some development, I mean, a lot of development is regulated and needs to be attached to a 100-year assured water supply. And the city of Flagstaff elected into that program outside of an active management area. Our city council directed staff to apply for, and we did get a designation of adequate water supply. So for Flagstaff, for a rural Arizona community, that is really proactive.
Remarkable.
And we've achieved that in 2013. So the state, Tom Bushatsky, I think for him, when you have a project like a Red Gap Ranch that is already part of the designation of adequate water supply, it just makes a yes, I think easier for folks to support, because we've done an amazing amount of work for water security. So, yeah.
So is the aquifer there at Red Ranch, is that a prehistoric aquifer or is it recharged in some way or?
That's kind of a mix. So at Red Gap Ranch, there is recharge, snow melt recharge, even some summer precipitation that we see in the well water. But the water is very salty because it doesn't move through the aquifer very quickly. So it's kind of sits there long enough to take in the salts that are in the geologic formation. And the water picks up some salt sort of higher up in the aquifer, in
The treatment is really important, isn't it?
yes, it'll be important unless Flagstaff doesn't mind like water that tastes like Phoenix water, but I kind of don't think our community.
Not gonna get more.
But we also have to do like a condition assessment of our existing water supply lines because of the potential for corrosion, or just bringing in saltier water could negatively impact the water quality. So
We do a lot of reverse osmosis in our water systems.
we do zero reverse osmosis. We do no treatment on the groundwater from the sea aquifer. It's very clean. We really, all we do is chlorinate the groundwater. We have a little bit of arsenic in the Woody Mountain, a couple of those wells, but we blend the Woody Mountain wells enough that the arsenic is non-detect or very, very low, way below the limit by the EPA.
Does the city still have functioning wells in the inner basin?
We do.
Oh,
And those are operating
okay.
off and on, but yes.
What's the projected timeline on this type of project?
So we are wrapping up the value planning report with the Bureau, and now we're working on what's called a project management plan that will set us up for an appraisal study. There are lots of different steps.
The next
Idea
step.
sounds like you've worked with the Bureau before. So we hope this year we begin the appraisal study, hopefully in like a couple of months. We're working hard towards that because, these opportunities are kind of rare. And so we want to do our very best to maybe have a big win for the community in terms of like the economies of scale, bringing in renewable energy. But yeah, there's a lot of discussions on, what our water portfolio looks like in the future with the Red Gap Ranch.
Did I hear you say that you have like a double demand from what we're currently producing is sort of the forecasted? Is that just based on growth of the city or?
We have a couple different models for how much water we will need at build out. One of the assumptions is purely just population and how much our water per person we're using today, what we've used historically. So you can do a low gallon per capita rate projection, a high gallon per capita rate projection. And gallon per capita incorporates all the water used in the city by NAU, by industry. So And then we do a land-based model, so we look at all the parcels within the regional plan. And we assume a water demand for each parcel based on kind of our historical demand, and make that projection. So we kind of come up with a range.
There's someone behind you again with his hand up.
Oh, yeah.
I was curious, you said that the wells, you've been able to detect that they respond to seasonal moisture fluxes. Has like active groundwater recharge areas on this site been assessed? Like kind of, I know Tucson is doing that to ensure that their aquifers are more actively recharging.
Yeah, we haven't at Red Gap Ranch looked at the potential for groundwater recharge. Like we haven't actively looked at that. However, one of the alternatives in the study is alternative 2A would actually send reclaimed water back to Red Gap Ranch
Oh,
to
for treatment.
or well, I don't know if we talked about treatment there, but that could be an option. But just to replenish the aquifer there or to contribute, maybe not
Store it,
replenish,
but
but store it there. Yeah, and offset, sort of offset the pumping. And that alternative ranked pretty high, but not as high as just not sending our reclaimed water back to Red Gap Ranch. So
That's an interesting idea.
yeah, yeah. And how we would do that recharge, you know, there's like well injection or Vadosome recharge, which is you can kind of let it gravity recharge through a Vadosome well, a shallow well, or through basins, just putting water in spreading basins and letting it infiltrate. So
And I'm going to take you off topic. I apologize ahead of time. This recent thing we heard about with the Colorado community and their water structure, their water situation, is that similar to ours? Did they have some kind of alternative plan going on? And what are you referring to? I'm referring to a veto by the president of a Colorado.
for the Colorado River Water Users Association and the Colorado River.
Yeah, in Colorado, I thought it was a town in Colorado.
Oh,
You don't know about it? Okay. Never mind. You don't know about the veto? Okay,
I don't.
never mind.
If it was the governor.
No, the president vetoed it.
Oh, yeah.
It was
I don't-
Bureau of Reclamation. It was, that's what I'm just worried about, the Bureau of Reclamation having some, getting smacked or something.
The Bureau is facing a lot of challenges right now with staffing and, but, you know, they'll be around. It's just whether,
Yeah.
you know, what their priorities remain under the administration and funding Western water, though remains a pretty high priority regardless.
We all thought that.
And they have an obligation to tribes through the trust to, you know, work on projects like this. And I suppose that's a potential advantage for Flagstaff is just that it doesn't involve the tribes. Multiple benefits.
Well, the planning's fabulous. You've done some really tremendous work,
Good.
really tremendous work.
Yeah, thanks so much for sharing all this with us,
Yeah.
Erin, and interested to keep on top of these updates and hear how things progress with the Bureau of Reclamation. So I'm also interested in Commissioner Carlson's question about the timeline. But I understand that that's a beast to even try to estimate with the.
Yeah, we might have an agreement, I understand, for the project management plan that I believe would go to our city council, and that could happen in 4 or 5 months, I imagine, but, you know, we'll definitely can keep you posted on that.
Well, yeah, thank you, to echo Vice Chair Mector, thank you for your work. It's such an important issue for Flagstaff and the region, so.
Thank you for hearing it and inviting us. Yeah.
Does anybody else have any more questions or comments for Erin?
It's nice to meet you too. We're meeting more of our city brain. It's fun, this meeting, bring all the people that work to make our city a great place.
Thank you. Yeah, I enjoy meeting everyone, so it's wonderful to meet you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you for what you do.
All right, the next item on our agenda is Adopt an Avenue. And this is something we talked about. I actually don't recall if it was, I think it might have been October, November meeting.
Keep putting it off.
And to just kind of recap where we were at, or where I remember we were at, we were discussing the options of formally adopting an avenue or adopting a stream versus taking a more organic approach to the environmental stewardship that the commission does together in our community, so that it would look more like an annual or a biannual. Let's all get together and plan a cleanup activity, probably in conjunction with another community event, so we could have more, exposure and interaction with the community. So this is nothing we need to vote on. We just kind of need to decide as a group if we are in fact going to move forward with a more organic and commission-led system for our environmental stewardship in Flagstaff, or if we want to continue with Adopt an Avenue. I love comments.
I have a concern about the Adopt the Avenue.
Okay.
Because of the optics. If you have I think the one they had left over was Enterprise. Went down.
Well, there was also the whole thing with the Rio the flag instead.
Yeah, you could adopt a street.
Yes, I can adopt
The
it.
stream would probably be better in terms, when I say the optics, you have these signs that say this avenue has been adopted by Northern Arizona University's football team, whatever. And then you see all this trash, and you think, well, they're not taking care of their little area at all. And if you have the same kind of sign for the Sustainability Commission, and you only go in there maybe 3 or 4 times a year, there's gonna be a collection of stuff there that makes it look like we're not paying attention. But if you think about a river or a stream, at least that might be something that we can monitor better and be more proactive with it. It's less likely that we're going to be dealing with, I'm gonna say, litter. You say the word litter. I don't think you see as much litter on the river as you do on the streets. So that was my thinking.
Have you seen the Rio de
It's
downtown?
I have, but
There's some weird things around there.
as I recall, there were like couches along the side of the river where people come and sit and enjoy the river. I assume that's what those couches were for, that people weren't just deciding to avoid bulky pickup.
Yeah, I'd say if we do adopt something, that a stream would be more appropriate.
Yeah.
For an interest.
I'm also wondering if we could just do urban trails too. Like,
There are no paths available. I just looked.
Diane, do you know what streams are available?
There are lots of sections of streams available.
A few months ago, more sections were added as well, as possible.
Yeah, so
And the work you do there, you go and pull out the weeds. What do you do when you go to take care of the stream? That's my question. What's the work done?
Well, I guess I'll find one for that here. So for the stream steward program, you'd be removing invasive plant species, woody debris and litter. You don't have to do all of those in the same time, and you don't have to do the whole section at the same time either, but so there's a little flexibility with that, but Blake, who's now in the role, the other Blake, would give you an orientation on exactly what that would look like and for your section if you chose to adopt.
You don't want to pull up weeds and then 2 weeks later there's more weeds. So you do have to kind of monitor it, make sure you're continuing with it so that it's
To some
healthy.
degree,
Life
yes.
is healthy.
But I believe the requirements, if they're still the same currently, it's only 3 cleanups a year for a 2-year period, so a total of 6. That's required, but you're always welcome to go and do more. That's something that was heavily encouraged when I was in the role.
perfection in appearance is not expected. Right, like that's
Well,
whether that's a
recognize that
stream.
fact from seeing the signs around
Right.
town.
Yeah, yeah.
Obviously, there's no perfection going on there. Although we appreciate that they're paying those people to keep the downtown area cleaned up.
Is there any cost associated with it, or is it volunteer to adopt?
So it's a volunteer program, so there's no cost associated. Again, the best contact for that is going to be Blake for any like follow-up questions, because I'm not sure if the program's changed since I was in that role back in August last year, but with that in mind, it honestly, in my opinion, I really love that program and running that.
Yeah.
So
How much time and energy is needed to really be effective in doing it?
depends on the section. Each section had different needs. So some sections were more invasive plant species focused, others were litter. It really depended on where in town you were. So that can kind of vary based on what section. Some easier sections, you really only need those 3 cleanups a year, and then they look perfect for the entire year. Other sections need a little bit more care and love.
Talking 4 hours for a group of 6, or what's the cleanup kind of look like?
So based on the data that I would look at, it could be anywhere from a little quick 30-minute cleanup, like someone just like went down in there, picked up some litter and then went home, up to having like, there's for example, a Boy Scout troop adopted a section and they did a whole like day-long thing in their channel to kind of be a little bit more in depth. And then they did the whole channel with invasives, woody debris, litter removal, etc. So it's really up to you. There's no time requirement. Yeah.
So and do you do the same thing? We have a little sign by the river saying this particular part of the river is monitored and protected by the Sustainability Commission of Flagstaff.
Yeah, so they actually, towards the end of my role, when I was in there in August, we had finished installing some of those signs. Yes.
And how long is the river? I mean, is it like 2
I
miles
wanna
of
say it's like
river, or is it
quarter mile or so.
quarter mile? Okay.
Yeah. It tries to be that program really had more manageable sections. Some are a little bit longer, some are a little shorter. And again, there's kind of a lot of variation with that. But there is a map online that you can see all the available sections. And if you have any questions on like specific sections, and like you should be able to reach out to Blake or Sonoma for information.
I personally like the idea of walking the walk.
Yeah,
It's good to do.
I think another thing we should consider as we have this discussion is like what our goal is in this environmental stewardship. What level of impact are we looking for? Like if we want to get out in a stream and volunteer and pick up and clean the stream channel, that's awesome. And I personally really enjoy working outside. The other side of the more organic engagement that we talked about as an option is that we would plan those types of events around things that are already happening in town. So it would just give us, I think the main difference is we'd have more of an opportunity of interaction with the community, with other community members, than we might have along the stream corridor. But
Like joining in on a service project.
Right. right.
Like picking
Yeah.
up the when they drop off the batteries, things like that.
Sure.
Volunteering that.
Or like
Although-
some of our grant recipients, right, are doing non-native
Mhm.
plant poles and native plants, you know, on Linda Vista corridor and things like that, so.
Picture canyons and other places.
Does anybody have like an argument for one option or another? We
Well,
heard optics.
Well, and the optics to me is part of the main keys. And it's like if you do the volunteer, for example, when did that, collected the people dropped off the drugs and all that stuff, and we were volunteering. There was no sign that said Sustainability Commission. And I think if you want to reinforce that the commission is doing something supportive, it would make sense to at least have a sign or a T-shirt or whatever. I don't know. Optics are important.
I think it makes more sense to support other efforts, versus just picking a piece of the river for our own self and doing it that way. I mean, that seems kind of insular, we're just doing this and maybe we all show up, maybe we don't, how that kind of stuff goes. Whereas if we, look for some community projects and, agree to participate in those, and we can spread that around and be part of something bigger.
I think there's also opportunity around city events like the Pine Cone Drop, for example, or the 4th of July parade. It's a mess after those things happen.
Okay.
And the whole community is like out and about. And so we could go out and, we could wear shirts that say Sustainability Commission and just chat with people. And
Wasn't that also one of the grant winners? We
No, I
know
don't
after
think
Hullabaloo,
got it. No.
they didn't win, okay.
They left that up to us to do.
so it sounds like we've got people leaning towards both. I think I would prefer the organic, but I'm okay with going with adopting a stream corridor too. So
if anyone makes a difference to anyone. The sections that are available on the map I'm looking at least, none of them are on the Rio de Flag. It's all washes in town, so we wouldn't be in any water. Right, like,
And some of these washes are like concrete.
yeah, they're in neighborhood. It's like washes in neighborhoods. So if you're like,
Like
oh,
the
it
one
sounds
by
nice
Lake
to be like, I'm
Mary.
in nature and I'm a stream and that's part of the appeal.
Yeah.
Not to say that it wouldn't still be meaningful, but it's like a
Yeah, it's not a pristine stream
Yeah.
that you're going out in.
like Mary saying the stream and Tom saying the river, and like, there's not gonna be any.
There are no rivers.
Yeah.
We just had a water presentation and there's no water. Already we're out of water.
So thank you for that information. That I think makes a difference. That throws me even more towards the organic. Would we have city support for helping to plan those events?
We just go by this, you just go by the environmental department and they have the little trigger rubber things and the vests and the bags. You
So
do
we
it
can
any
go
day
out
of the week.
anytime we want
You
as
can.
individuals
That's true.
and,
And there's some guy that dresses like a chipmunk or something like that.
He's a squirrel and
Oh,
his name is Albert.
Oh, excuse me. I thought he was a chipmunk.
Yeah.
And we have,
like.
yeah.
I stand corrected.
I think
Probably
over
borrow a squirrel
100
suit, too, if
different
you wanted.
organized events, like we had a great pine cone drop cleanup this year where
Cool.
volunteers came out and did that. So I think there's also potential
pretty
for
cold.
more communication, like direct communication from me about opportunities for those events.
Yeah,
too.
excellent.
Is there a way that we could like promote it as something that the Sustainability Commission is part of?
Yeah, we can talk about
Or the
organizing.
optics.
We could just put, like, we could put on LinkedIn, like, hey, the Sustainability Commission's gonna be out.
Yeah.
Helping, blah, blah, blah. Come join us.
There are usually also partnership opportunities if that's something you're interested in with like the city as a whole. I highly recommend checking out Connect Flagstaff for any upcoming volunteer events. If you want to do some, I don't want to say like last minute planning because like it just depends on, sometimes they're on there 2 weeks in advance, sometimes it's a month or more. Depends on who's running the program, how established it
So
is.
like after the 4th of July parade, we can call the Democratic Party and say, come and join us. We're picking up garbage and they should be wearing their little signs saying, we're Democrats and we're sustainability.
Commissioner Carson, on
Yeah,
that, on
I just wanted to clarify what role we're allowed to take. So I know a lot of times city staff says, oh, this thing's coming down the city policy line. You know, we're not technically for or against. Are we allowed to be, we're allowed to be for something, right? So like if there's a community event, we can be like, hey, there's this thing going on, like help support, you know, tell city council that we want to help with this community solar project or, you know, some type of reform with policy. So like, that's another option. I'm curious.
I think that would probably depend on a case by case event and like whether we're there as a commission or as individuals. Jenny?
Yeah, that's, commissioners have full power of any individual in this community to be for or against anything. Clarification that you don't speak for the commission is helpful. Sometimes you'll see people down at council often. Then they go and say, I'm a member of this commission. I'm not here as a commissioner. I'm here and I do not speak for the commission. But you have full autonomy to do whatever you need to. If the commission takes votes, which you all have done before, you have taken votes to write a letter and then approve that letter to support something, right? You would all be doing that together in this room with open meeting law.
So you're talking about influencing activity as opposed to physical going around and picking stuff up and optics. As opposed to optics, you're talking.
It's still a community activity and like,
Still
so,
visual.
so instead of like, just like, writing a letter in support, we vote in support of that. And then there's a community event that comes up, like, hey, this thing's going on. Let's like, kind of rallying the community. Yeah. So like, that's an idea. I also think like a type of replanting project along a riparian corridor or something would be. If those are things that come up throughout the year.
Cool. So I'm feeling like the group is leaning towards this organic stewardship as opposed to formally adopting a stream or an avenue. Okay, fantastic. Thank you, everybody, for that discussion.
Can I add one last thing? And again, this is just me as like not representing sustainability. Usually around this time, for the program that I was running, the watershed cleanup series, this was about the time that planning for the summer was coming up.
Mm.
So if you're interested in partnering for that, like you still want to do a stream cleanup, but it's with a group of 30 to 50 volunteers roughly from when I was doing it. It could have a wider reach as a commission to do that, but again, I would be careful on how you're presenting as commission or individuals, things like that. So
Point being, as citizens, we could go sign up and do it if we wanted to.
oh yeah, absolutely. You can always go sign up. That should be on Connect Flagstaff at some point this year.
I would think that doing, like partnering to do a watershed cleanup would be well within something we could do as a commission. And thank you for that. I would love to do something like that.
It was always, it was interesting finding partners for those
Yeah.
events, and it didn't always have to be one, or you could be part of multiple partners, but I would definitely reach out to, like, if you have any sort of interest on partnering, especially as a commission, because advertising usually included, like, who the partners were.
Cool.
Well, when I lived
Yeah.
in Tucson, we had bi-monthly hazardous material pickups. And it would just be at like a church or sometimes a city council place or city office on a Sunday. And we get hundreds of people driving their stuff in and dropping off their batteries and all that. I would kind of hope that we could do a few more of those than we already do. I think we only do 2 a year, don't we?
Drop off days, yeah.
Yeah, we only have 2 though, right?
2 drop off days, 2 basic clinics.
Can we possibly have Blake at a future meeting to talk to us about coming opportunities to partner?
And perhaps we should put this watershed opportunity on as an agenda item along with Blake to talk about any advanced planning that we need to do. Because if we are gonna do it, as a commission, we might as well be a formal partner and
That's true.
get on the branding. I think that'd be great. Okay, excellent. Thank you, everybody. Next up on the agenda, we have Genevieve Pear3, who is going to talk to us about the Flagstaff Energy Efficiency and Electrification Study results.
Yeah,
Genevieve.
thanks for having me. Let me get my presentation going. Thank you.
Ooh, what a pretty picture. That's interesting.
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah. Cool. So this is a study that we hired an external consultant to do, and she presented to City Council on December 9th. And she did a really good job presenting. So I'm going to send a follow-up email that includes a link to the video. So if you want to do a deep dive, you can hear it from her. So I'm going to do my best to like paraphrase her, but she's the expert on this. Basically, so and on this, I have a lot of slides on this. I'm going to go as fast or slow as you want. And I want to be respectful of your time, but also give you a chance to dig into anything that you're interested in. But basically just, so we really wanted to know the cost of electrification and energy efficiency in Flagstaff. So we had not a lot of data, some kind of high level data on how much it costs, like how much energy efficiency costs, how much all electric one costs versus mixed fuel, on a national level. But we didn't have anything for Flagstaff. And there's a lot of national studies that have said that electric homes can be the same to construct as mixed fuel, so natural gas electric homes, and bring other benefits. But we know that that's not always true in every place. A lot of it depends on local costs, construction costs, utility costs, things like that. So we really wanted to know, okay, what's going on at Flagstaff, especially because our carbon neutrality plan does encourage beneficial electrification. So yeah, just wanted more data, and really so wanted to an informed decision, city decision moving forward on build, energy code stuff, other code changes, future policy and programming, and we have a lot of programs that support electrification. So we want to make sure that those are bringing those benefits to residents.
Is this like specifically about new homes or?
Yes, new homes. Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, I have a question. I know that there's some like state laws that don't allow us to, have regulations
Yeah.
towards preventing mixed use energy or whatever. I'm curious if like, let's say this says things about the same cost. Is that something the developers seem interested in like embracing? Because I think that's kind of out.
Yeah, good question.
I know, so I might be
I'll
off.
get there, yeah,
Okay,
I'll get
cool.
there, but you're correct. There is a state law I don't know the exact language, basically we can't promote one fuel source over another. And this was done with that knowledge. And so it's really informing our policy and programming. But yeah, not any requirements for one fuel
Okay.
source. But yes, good question, and we'll get to
I
that.
follow up on that.
But if I forget, bring that up.
It's a good framing for the whole conversation because that's where we're going.
Okay,
Yeah.
Cool.
Exactly. Yeah, so really, we want to know how much does it cost? What are the barriers to building more energy efficient new homes, all electric new homes? What are the benefits that they bring? And how do we overcome these barriers? How do we increase our dialogue with the building community? And how can we use these findings to inform our decisions moving forward? And then just a recap for the CNP, the majority of our emissions in Flagstaff come from buildings. So reducing buildings, the built environment is really, really important. It's a lot easier to build buildings right than to retrofit them. And it's a lot less costly. Retrofits can be really expensive and challenging depending on what you're retrofitting and how the house was constructed. So doing it from the beginning is really the way to go. That's where new buildings really offer an opportunity. And we'll talk about this in a little more detail, but just some things I learned was that this topic is really, really nuanced, which I think is really helpful information to have. In the past, we've heard people say it's either more expensive to do mixed fuel homes or it's more expensive to do electric homes to construct and operate. But it's actually it can be both, depending on, it's just very nuanced. So I think that's really helpful to have. And then just so much variation. And then we just really learned a lot listening from different contractors. So that was really helpful. And then before I talk about the results, I just want to talk about a couple key concepts. If y'all already know this stuff, just tell me, skip that. But I just want to make sure you have the information in case you don't know it. So I mentioned beneficial electrification. So it's not really just electrification for electrification's sake. It's really identifying ways that when you switch from a natural gas powered equipment to an electric one, it has benefits for the people using that equipment. And so either that's through improving indoor air quality. So for example, switching from a gas stove to an regular electric one or an induction stove, lowering energy use and potentially lowering your monthly energy costs, reducing carbon emissions, as well as improving electrical grid management. So it doesn't advocate for installing, for example, an electric resistance furnace that uses a lot of electricity, is really inefficient, would cost a lot to operate. And so it's really kind of being strategic about when you electrify. And that includes in new homes as well as in retrofits. Then the study talks a lot about heat pumps. I feel like everyone knows what heat pumps are, but just in case, they provide heating and cooling. They're super cool, one system. They basically move hot air from one place to another. So they find in the wintertime, they find heat from the air, even if it's really cold outside, they can pull heat from the air through refrigerant, which they then travels to a unit inside your home and releases that heat inside. It's basically like an air conditioner, but operating in reverse. And then in the summer, you turn it on to operate like an air conditioner. It basically pulls heat out of your home.
So all of
And
these
take it
pictures are
outside.
relative to a ductless mini split unit.
Nope, yeah, that's
Because you have to
actually
have the
technically
outside
correct, but it applies to ducted systems as well. So it's basically, you're just moving air, hot air.
Like she was saying that it's an air conditioner that can work both ways. So most air conditioners are like a central one.
No, I understand that, but there's the notion that the mini split unit is right there on the wall, it's not level, but there's still the outside connection. You still have to have, it's ductless, but there's still connections to an outside.
Yes, yeah, there's an inside and outside unit, whether it's a ducted system or ductless. And then this study talks a lot about cold climate air source heat pumps. So not the same heat pumps you find in Phoenix. These ones can operate down to negative 22 degrees without needing heat. Whereas ones in Phoenix, you don't need that. So Flagstaff needs, for it to be efficient and work well in Flagstaff, you need ones that go low temperatures. And then Mary talked about ducted versus ductless. So heat pumps can either be ducted or ductless. So ducted is using the vents, basically the central system that pumps air through your vents. Ductless system is where you don't have vents, or if you have them, you're bypassing them. You basically have individual units in each room of your house, or most rooms, depending on your system. And basically, in all of these, you're not actually pulling the air from outside, you're pulling the heat. So that's
And then another important point is just that APS has a bunch of different residential electricity plans that can have big implications for utility costs. So there's three main plans. The first one's a fixed energy plan. And within that, there's small, medium, and large. Basically, the more electricity used on average, your price per kilowatt hour goes up. So this image is showing the large tier, but it can be a little bit less if you don't use very much electricity. So that's just basically you pay the same rate per kilowatt hour regardless of when you use electricity. It's just a fixed rate. There's two other plans, however, called time of use plans. There's time of use and time of use plus demand charge. And the rates vary depending on what time you're using electricity and what day. And if anyone wants to chat about this more, God, done a lot of experimenting with different plans. So you can kind of use the system to save, basically have the lowest utility costs. And that's what the study found too, just to talk about that. But basically, costs are highest during on-peak hours. So that's 4 to 7 p.m. on weekdays. They're lowest during off-peak hours, which is all other times. And then in the winter, when Flagstaff uses the most electricity, especially if you use an electricity and heat your home, like your heat pump, when we use the most, you have super off-peak hours, which are really cheap rates from 10 to 3 p.m. Monday through Friday in November through April. And the time of use plus demand charge plan has the lowest rates, but if you use electricity during your on-peak hours, if you use a lot on a day, you pay for it. So basically, it incentivizes you to use less electricity outside of those on-peak hours. If you do that, you can lower your utility costs, and that's what this study found. So this is just showing the rates, and this is available on the APS website, but it kind of shows the off-peak hours, which are green, super off-peak that I mentioned, that's blue. The peak is the on-peak hours. So you can see in the time of use plan, I don't know where my mouse is. There it is. Here you can see the rates are a bit higher than the demand charge plan. But again, if you use a lot of electricity during on-peak hours, demand charge.
One sad, hard thing is that we have so many trees in this town. Can't use solar panels very much. There are very few houses that are able to access solar.
You know, I don't think that's totally true. But it's a little bit of
Since I had those two people come visit my house.
Can we talk about that another time?
No, okay.
Because I got a lot of slides, so I want
Okay,
to make sure.
sorry.
But no worries.
House by house.
It's
A lot
really-
of people make a lot of money in solar and
Yeah.
like in Flagstaff. Like, I mean, sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, so house by house, and if you have a battery, that helps a lot with avoiding during on-peak hours. So you definitely chat in the future about that anyway. Okay, so just moving forward on the methodology. So this study, it had two components. One was modeling, and one was interviews with 13 local builders. And the modeling looked at single family as well as multifamily homes, looked at capital costs, that's basically construction costs, and operation costs. And this table just shows basically, there's 6 scenarios for single family homes and 4 for multifamily homes. So there was called a base case for both. So that's in this case, it's mixed fuel, single family home built to Flagstaff's current code. And then it looked at ducted all electric and ductless all electric homes, single family built to Flagstaff's current energy code. And then scenarios 3 through 5 are those same like things, a base case and then 1 and 2, but built to a higher energy efficiency standards. So basically about a 25, 27% improvement in energy efficiency over Flagstaff's current code. And then she did the same thing with multifamily, just didn't look at ducted systems because multifamily units tend to be smaller and don't necessarily need a full ducted system. You can do it ductless. And as the study found, it's actually a lot less expensive to do ductless. So that's what was modeled here. And then just for kind of some background info, what she was looking at for costs. So basically like how much does it cost to do mixed fuel home versus all electric? And these were the different features that she looked at. So for mixed fuel, you got a furnace and an air conditioning system, gas, water heater, and gas stove. Then for an all electric home, you had your cold climate heat pump, which provided heating and cooling, a heat pump, water heater, and induction stove. And then she talked to 13 builders and design professionals, contractors in Flagstaff. It's really cool to be able to let her do that. And then she had a focus group where a bunch of them came to kind of look at the draft findings, get feedback on them. And then she basically aggregated it into what we're about to present right now. So what she found is, so this is for single family homes. So the base case, again, that is a single family home built to Flagstaff's current energy code. So the average cost, and again, there's quite a big range. That's where this nuance comes in, was about 14,500. And again, these are not meant to be necessarily the end all be all in terms of cost, just more like how are they relative to each other? Because the cost can vary a lot from builder to builder and depending on what system they're putting in. But she found that all electric is ducted is more expensive to construct than mixed fuel, but ductless is actually about the same cost for cheaper. And that's because you avoid costs associated with duct work. And then if you add energy efficiency features, so that's scenarios 3 through 5, obviously that's expensive because you have to install more things to be more energy efficient. But again, you know, at least if even the all electric ducted system isn't that much more than a mixed fuel system. And then as we saw, all electric ductless was cheaper. And again, there's variation, but this is kind of like the relative numbers is kind of
So quick question on that. That's saying that a central air conditioner and furnace is cheaper to install than one cold climate heat pump.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
that's just because the cold climate heat pumps are more costly than a regular heat pump. And then when you add the ductwork, that's a cost as well.
Yeah, and then one other quick question. I know you said these are for cold climate heat pumps that go down to -22. When was the last time it was -22 in Flagstaff?
Yeah.
It may not be as.
For the
Yeah.
future, it's not gonna be the.
I remember when, New Year's that was like -21, maybe like 15 years ago.
And I think the thing to think about too is the ones that are needing to go down so low are more efficient at lower
It's
temperatures.
your
Yeah.
father's fault.
So
Overall,
even if it doesn't get to -22, they're a lot more efficient at 0 or -10,
Okay.
which we do experience.
Yeah.
Often, or, you know, 0, not that often. I get what you're saying. but
Yeah,
their just
totally.
efficiency
Oh, just
That makes
is
sense.
a lot better.
And it's operating at those relatively low temperatures.
More just actually under 40 degrees.
Yeah.
Is about that cutoff.
So there's a lot of benefits.
Under 40 degrees. Oh, that's pretty good, actually.
Is it standard to install a heat pump on a house
Maybe at
here?
90.
Because I've seen a lot, mine didn't come with one.
Not necessarily.
Not
It
yet.
depends on the builder, but a lot of, I mean, Flagstaff's biggest home builder tends to put in gas furnaces and air conditioning.
So they actually have the air conditioner installed or a heat pump version of that.
Yeah, well, just a regular air conditioner and furnace. So I would say it's not the most, people do install heat pumps here. It's really mixed bag, but I think the most common setup for new builds right now is a furnace plus an air
Plus a
conditioner.
separate
Yeah.
air conditioner.
Yeah.
Because I said, we didn't have an air conditioner. It got added later to our house, but it didn't come with it.
Most people do.
Yeah,
Most people don't. I think a lot of new builds tend to now,
we have trees.
but existing construction.
I didn't know
I
that
do, they
factored
shade
into
my
this,
house.
you know.
I guess
Yeah.
it's cool in the daytime. I have trees.
Yeah, no, I think that's most common in new builds, but for, yeah, so this is just looking at new construction being built right now. Okay, so moving on, kind of similar findings for multifamily, although we don't have the ducted system. This one actually found it to be definitively less expensive to do all electric ductless versus mixed fuel ducted. And again, that's just because you're not installing ductwork, which is a large amount of materials, a large amount of labor. And then obviously energy efficiency features to add to construction costs. So some key takeaways, again, all electric ductless systems had the lowest construction costs of all types. Ducted is likely to be more expensive than mixed fuel, at least right now. Energy efficiency features do increase construction costs, but can lead to cost savings for utilities to get to the next slides. And again, just that they vary a lot. So the consultant was really clear, like, this is intended to be illustrative, but just kind of help us better understand that picture of how much these things cost. So moving on to operational costs, which was the second part of what she modeled. So basically, she looked at the monthly utility costs for all of the scenarios on different APS plans. This one is just looking at the fixed rate medium plan. I did mention there's a small and large plan. And where a house ends up on those depends on how much energy they use. So this is just looking at the medium one to simplify things. But basically, the base case and the mixed fuels, number 3, that's the monthly utility rate for electricity and natural gas. And for all the other ones, that's just the monthly electricity bill. And all of the green shaded ones are cheaper than the base case, that mixed fuel home. And then the orange ones are more expensive. And then I guess a couple more needed to be green. I don't know what happened there. But anyway, most of them are have lower utility bills, that's what she found, than the mixed fuel. And that was another argument that we'd heard in the past, was that definitively it costs more to operate an all-electric home than a mixed fuel home. And what this study found is that it's much more nuanced than that. And that if you're an adapted home and you're on a fixed rate plan or a time of use plan, yes, it is more expensive. But if you are on a time of use plus demand charge plan, it can be less costly across even if you're an all electric ducted home. But if you have a ductless home, you're really saving a lot more money on your utility costs.
But you're not saving any more money really if you do the high energy efficiency.
Well, that is where
And you're
this gets
spending
interesting.
$8,000 extra to install stuff.
Yeah, there you go.
I think that's where this gets interesting, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. It depends a lot on which features you install. And so this, for the features she chose in this study, that was the impact, but that's not necessarily true across the board. So we'll talk about that a little bit. Okay, so again, for operational costs, multifamily, kind of same, it's cheaper across the board to operate the ductless. So for multifamily, this study found that it's cheaper to construct new units with ductless mini splits, like all electric units, and it's cheaper to operate. So that was an interesting finding.
And this was the notion of air conditioning, cooling in the summer, for example.
Yeah, these have heat pumps, so they do both. They do heating and air conditioning. And again, the time of use plus demand charge across the board had the highest, or the best, the lowest cost, so the highest savings. And so the kind of key takeaways are, the lowest operational cost can be achieved through energy efficiency, switching to that time of use plus demand charge plan, and doing all electric ductless systems. So anyway, so those are kind of a summary of the cost findings. Does anyone have any questions?
I actually do.
Yeah.
So those price comparisons, are those assuming that the base that it's being weighed against has AC in the summer?
Yeah, and those are using current utility costs, and they're with Flagstaff's weather. So it was modeled for Flagstaff.
And it's relatively new construction, so the houses might have some kind of improved environmental thing, so they don't quite use as much heating and cooling.
Yeah, so basically the ones, if you go back to single family, base case 1 and 2 are all built to the 2018 energy code, which is Flagstaff's current energy code. And then 3, 4, and 5 are built to the 2024 code plus an amendment to improve energy efficiency a lot. So yes, these are not considering a 1950s home with no.
In the 1990s. home.
Yeah, this is just new homes built to our current code and then an improvement on our current code. Okay, and then just a couple other things that, all electric homes can bring better indoor air quality, especially if you don't have a gas stove. She found good data about the impact on lowering greenhouse gas emissions from buildings, and then just improve safety and resilience. So going to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, basically all of the all electric homes, and the mixed fuel home that's highly energy efficient, that's what HE stands for, emit fewer greenhouse gas emissions than a mixed fuel home built to Flagstaff's current energy code. And the biggest improvement was the all electric ductless, highly energy efficient home.
But again, not that much of an improvement compared to just all electric ductless. Like, that's really interesting. It would.
Yeah, and it's because the mini splits are really efficient.
Yeah,
And so they have the smallest improvement from our current code to the additional energy efficiency features because they're so efficient. The ducted systems are the ones that really benefit a lot more from those energy efficiency improvements. And a lot of new single family homes, I mean, probably almost all of them are built with ducted systems. That's kind of what people are used to. You can build them with mini splits, or you can, I have a house that I retrofitted with mini splits. You can build big ones with mini splits. That's not really what's being built right now in Flagstaff. Flagstaff. So yeah, the mini splits, they're really efficient. They have very little heat loss. They don't have that ductwork where the heat is leaking out. So the energy efficiency features just really benefit homes with ductwork.
And you can localize the use of it too, so. if
And you
Yeah.
can use its own control. Yeah, there's a lot of benefits with mini splits. I really like having them, but I don't know many new home builders who are doing at least single family with mini splits in Flagstaff.
Did you retrofit your home from a gas, structured heating unit that had the,
I did, yeah, and bypass the ductwork. So we can talk about that.
yeah,
Yeah,
I guess
you
we're
guys
talking
were
about that.
If you're familiar with like the SEER ratings or whatever the equivalent is nowadays on ACs, like the heat pump ones that are central ducted are like 14 maybe, and then these mini splits are at 19, which is like significant more than
Yeah, and that's just because they're bringing
inefficient ones.
the heat from the outside directly into the room that you're heating it in, instead of putting it into a central unit that then pushes that hot air through your ductwork. And then you have leaks potentially in your ductwork, and you also have to force the air more. So there's just kind of the way that it operates is a big reason for that. But yeah, so anyway, but we have a little more data on that. So that's a good question though. So basically just this shows the benefits of all electric buildings as well as energy efficiency in terms of how much we reduce greenhouse gas emissions from new builds. And that's really helpful because we just want to have data to support, the reasons why we're programming and curb and trolley plans for these things. So, and then another thing that we heard from our study, just moving on, I won't go into these too much detail, but we heard a lot of things that aren't necessarily true. So we heard that it costs more to build, construct homes with heat pumps and operate them, but as the study showed, that's not necessarily true.
One side is the urban myth, the other side is the facts.
Yeah, it's from the study findings. And so, another one was that clients want gas stoves, and that's definitely true, but other builders said some clients don't want them because they're quality. So again, it's just kind of a nuanced picture. We heard that the city bans wood burning stove, but that's not actually true. Sustainability Office even offers rebates for older, replacing older stoves with the EPA certified wood stove. Another thing we heard was that heat pumps don't flex. And, they go down 22 degrees now, so they do work.
Negative 22.
Yeah, negative. Thank you.
So I know it showed
price.
capital costs. That's capital costs like just on the house itself, not necessarily the piping infrastructure. Is that right? Are there upstream costs that are
Yeah.
modeled in the study?
It's mostly capital costs, although the mixed fuel homes did take into account the infrastructure costs for connecting to like the gas. But they're basically focused on the home. So they're not necessarily, I guess the thing is with like, you're already building electrical infrastructure to service the home, but if you're not doing gas, you don't have to build gas infrastructure. So it kind of took into the cost that way, not necessarily maybe very far upstream.
So you're saying like the savings were accounted for of not piping in natural gas?
Jen, I just want to give you a heads up. We've got about 15 to 20 minutes max left, and you have another agenda item.
Okay,
So I
Yeah.
don't, I'm gonna leave it to you. I'm
let's
loving
go.
this information and
We'll
this
be done.
conversation.
Yeah.
one last thing I
Uh,
want to, thank you for that heads up. One last thing I want to talk about is, let me find where I put it.
We have to get back. Don't forget, everybody, we're gonna talk about the minutes.
Yeah.
Were we supposed to be reading them while this was going on?
They are in the chat.
They're in the chat, yep.
Okay, at least you do.
Mary, I can email it.
So,
Thank you. Please do. I don't know where that chat.
the last thing I wanted to mention on the energy efficiency savings, so it really depends on, so basically the energy efficiency improvement from our current code to the energy efficiency features that the consultant model represented a 27% improvement in single family homes over our current code for ducted systems, but only a 60% improvement for mini splits just because they're so efficient. But the cost savings didn't necessarily match the amount of improvement for lots of reasons. Part of it is how we use natural gas versus electricity, but the ducted system had the highest cost savings just because they're using more electricity and they're potentially having leaks in the ductwork. So anyway, it's kind of a nuanced picture, but also depends on the features that the consultant chose. So you can get that much energy efficiency improvement choosing different features, and you might have a different outcome. So it's just a really nuanced picture, but that was not something we were expecting either. Like, we didn't really know that the impact of the energy efficiency features. But it does make sense now that kind of we've seen these features, that again, if you have ductwork, it makes the biggest difference. If you have mini splits, it just doesn't impact as much. So
Again, what's the AT?
highly energy efficient.
Like what are they? What features are they? Are they
yeah.
required?
You get
Like,
those at Home Depot?
what's kind of the nutshell of that?
Yeah,
So,
good
I
question.
understand.
I don't exactly remember the parameters that she chose. I'll follow up.
Is it
we'll
just a
send
house that has
and we-
more
and we'll
insulation?
Things like that, yeah, and the ductwork's in an insulated space, for example. We'll send out the full report, and I'm happy if anyone wants to chat about it, we can dig into
So
it.
it just looks like there's
Sure.
diminishing returns on increasing efficiency or just getting an efficient HVAC system, and having a general efficient.
If you use less energy, you have less energy that you have to save,
Mhm.
right?
Perfect, yeah.
They just have to hope.
So I think it
ATF
depends on the
raise your
system
rates.
that.
Unless you have a wife who likes the gas fireplace on all day.
All right.
Oh,
And then we'll go to the next one, and then me and Jamie back here are gonna tag team. We're gonna do that.
Okay.
I promise.
Hey, Diane.
Oh, it's so pretty. I like to sit in front of an
Nice
ingredient.
Okay.
All right, I guess I'll introduce you guys.
Okay.
We're gonna have a quick update on the ADU plans, the model plan library, that we heard about quite a while ago. I'm excited to
Yeah.
hear what you've come up with. So we've got Genevieve and Jamie.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, I'll be fast. Okay,
Will Jamie be fast?
We'll both be fast. We'll talk, so basically, I'm gonna keep going, so. You are fast, like, you're fast, a little too fast. Okay, so just a little bit of background on what ADUs are. They're kind of like a backyard home. They have everything you need, a little cottage. They have a lot of benefits for the Flagstaff community. They really are an excellent example of where climate and housing goals are, you can meet both at the same time. Because we need more housing, and these units don't use very much energy, and they're built in existing neighborhoods, so they just have a ton of benefits. So we developed a library, which I'll talk about just a little bit of background, that has detached ADUs, so those are standalone structures. And again, I mentioned, the carbon neutrality and this plan and the city's 10-year housing plan both call for ADUs. So these are just some of the strategies for the CNP related to ADUs, and then the 10-year housing plan. And so, yeah, so basically we decided to develop a model plans library, but it took a long time to figure out what we were doing and why we were doing it, and just kind of like, what's the best way to do it. And so basically we had background research. I'll talk a little bit about that. We had a request for informal proposals called a call to designers, which I did bring to the Sustainability Commission. Cameron was involved, so thank you for being involved in that. Community, then we had selecting winning designs by selection committee, and then we had a community choice award. So those 10 designs were put out on social media, and the public was able to vote on their favorite designs. Then we had the designs go through our city building plan review process. We developed the library. We just launched it in January. So just a little background info. We had a community survey before we even launched the library to kind of find out, like, is there an appetite for ADUs? And there was a lot of interest in ADUs among the community. We also interviewed designers and developers, and they were also generally supportive of model plans, with some stipulations that we took into consideration as we developed the plan library. Then we talked to a bunch of other cities. So basically all this didn't come from, it came from somewhere. It didn't come from thin air. And really we found in that survey that there were a lot of barriers to building an ADU. And the library doesn't address all of them, but it can address some of them. So the goal is to reduce costs for drafting plans, as well as make it easier to find someone to design an ADU, make it easier to navigate the city permitting and design process, and have lower city review fees. There's other barriers that we may try to tackle later if we can, but this library is just focused on those. And that being said, I'm going to pass it on to Jamie.
Cool. Yeah. So some of our main goals with the ADU model plan program is
creating that library to host these pre-approved all-electric energy efficient designs. Additionally, to increase awareness about ADUs for the public and about their benefits to the Flagstaff community, like we said, with relation to CNP and the housing goal, and then to increase ADUs throughout Flagstaff by simplifying this process, so decreasing those barriers, both cost barriers and the barrier of just going through the permitting process. So this connects homeowners with the design professionals. So it has benefits both for the community and the designer. So again, for the community, lower design costs, lower permit barriers. You can preview all these designs for free and kind of get a feel for which ones you like. It's easier to connect with the designer. It's right on the website. And so these easier and less costly to build an ADU means more ADUs in Flagstaff. And then for the designers, they have the benefit of reusing the plans, they retain ownership, and the fees that they get paid for when people buy their design help to cover them making a site plan and help them go through the building permitting process. So it's a lower time commitment to use plans and can allow designers to work with more clients that way. So we integrated some more like sustainability features within these ADUs that go a little bit beyond like current code, such as using the 2024 International Energy Conservation Code. They're all electric using the cold climate air source heat pump. They're also required to have all Energy Star appliances as well as water sense plumbing fixtures. They're also solar ready. So basically there's always space on the roof designated for a solar panel could be put in, and having all the tools necessary to put in solar panels. And the designers were also asked or encouraged to create passive heating and cooling where feasible. Additionally, we also wanted it to be able to go on a lot of different lots. So these ADUs are designed to be on different foundation types, and they also have all these different options. So different floor plans, roof layouts, and siding types that people can choose from. So these are a picture of a couple of the designs. Like Genevieve said, we had 10 overall designs that our selection committee helped us pick out, but then there was, the community could vote on their favorites designs. This was just kind of help to raise awareness about EDUs. So these are the 3 designs that were picked by the community.
I feel like I've seen this before. Did you vote in the community? I must have. And you recognize Cameron. I thought he was the only one that had anything to do with it.
All right, here are some more of the designs. The other 6 ones. We had, I think, 6 designers total and then 10 designs picked from them. So now I'm going to go through our website that we built out to give you guys a quick tour of that.
Does there have to be an existing home, or could somebody put 3 or 4 of these on a residential lot?
Well, if it's, you mind if I answer that?
Oh, yeah, go for it.
If it's to be considered an ADU, it has to be built on a lot with a single family home, but if you're in a different zoning and you have the zoning that could permit that,
Yeah,
then you
R4 or something.
you could build multiple, but to be an actual ADU, then it has to be on a lot with a single family home.
Accessory to the main.
Yeah, it has to be accessory. There has to be a primary dwelling unit that is accessory to.
You're almost talking about cottage courts at that point to have a lot of
Yeah.
small units.
Yeah, why
Yeah.
not?
So other zones, we
Haven't
can't
they
allow
asked
that
you
in
to
Flagstaff,
close
just
out?
not as an ADU. But these could be like,
But you could use these
Multifamily.
designs and whatever.
But is there any, what would it be called, property setbacks, you can't build within a certain distance of your property line? Do they make allowance for?
State law just
ADUs?
got passed regarding this, don't they? Did the state law just-
so that's part of the building plan. Are you gonna be able to?
Yeah, I think I got this.
That's part of, Roger, that's part of the building, or Commissioner Scurlock, excuse me, that's part of the building plan review process, where you look at that to make sure a specific ADU will fit on a lot. Yeah.
They don't change the setbacks, so you don't go to 4 feet instead of 10 or whatever.
Yeah, so these plans are just like the building itself, and then you have to make sure it fits on the lot. And I'll let Jamie keep going.
All right, so this is our ADU model plan website. So landing page just explained to the public what is an ADU, why they are important, which we already went over. Here's kind of the meat of the website. So this shows all the designs have them displayed on these little cards, having the community choice ones show up first. Shows a little picture with a little bit of information, but then what you can do is just click on view details and it'll bring up more information about each design. So this one's the Juniper. It provides more information about 1 bedroom, 1 bath, the ADU model plan number, which is essential if you're gonna get this ADU, also how much it is to buy the plans. And it kind of walks you through a little bit about the design, as well as showing some of the floor plans.
I'll just jump in. I mentioned pre-approved options. So this one has like multiple floor plans. They're already pre-approved. So when someone wants to come in, they can be like, I'm going to build this ADU, the floor plan be no porch. And then it's like already pre-approved, which is cool. So that means it will fit on more lots, which is neat.
Yes, you can kind of go through the model plan library. And then if you decide that you wanted this one, just contacting the designer here to be able to go through that process. And then additionally, we also have the frequently asked questions page. So this can kind of help walk people through, you know, what they need to know about what model plan to get, whether it'll work for their lot, and then like how to go through that process and how it all works. That is our website. Let me pull up the presentation again.
Are these all site built, or is there any of these actually roll in kind of things?
Good question. They are all stick built, but that's something we're looking into, like modular ADUs. That's a future thing. Yeah.
So the process of buying one is first browsing through that library, picking out your favorite plan, doing some of the background research to make sure that it will work for your property, because different parts of town have different rules, whether it's town site or HOA, that might affect the ability to put on land. Next would be contacting the designer, paying that fee, and then working with the designer to make sure it's going to work for the property and select those customizations if you want any. And then applying for a building permit with the city of Flagstaff. And once that is approved, starting to work with that contractor or builder to construct the ADU. So next for ADU is we are also talking with Coconino County. They're interested in having these plans, model plans for countywide. So that's kind of in the process of happening. They would have to go through building plan review, and it's a little bit for it to go through that process, but something in the works. Also analyzing plans for the town site overlay standard. So that's the part of town that's just a little bit west of downtown, right? And has different standards of what kind of ADUs could go there. So we're gonna go through each ADU design and see if they fit those standards to be able to make sure that they're applicable to as many parts of town as possible.
Why was the town site chosen?
They're the only ones with additional standards. They're the only ones that are in a historic overlay.
Gotcha. Okay. And what about like an HOA? Type of restriction?
That
Talk about
is
standards,
the
yeah.
thing that homeowners are gonna figure out if they can build an ADU on their lot.
There's state law just recently passed regarding cities having to have broader speaking perspectives on, you're nodding your head, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, like the state law saying that it has a certain amount of model plans for ADUs and for regular homes.
Well, the cities have to be more open to being deregulating so that people can have more comfort, more openness on this one.
Well, there was a law about ADUs that was passed and our zoning code has been updated to comply with that law. And then there was another law that was passed requiring cities to have pre-approved ADU plans.
So you're on top
We're
of
ahead of
it.
it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well
But
done.
the point being that they wanted to make it easier for people to have these kinds of things, so the zoning issues were supposed to be mitigated. Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. So in the future, we're looking to continue to explore, expand the library. So whether that's maybe another call to designers process, is just how we got the current 10 designs, or make it outside of the call to designers process, or even creating a modular ADU section like we kind of talked about earlier. So yeah, this is kind of a starting point with these 10 designs. We're also getting a couple more, picking from the runners up design and trying to get those through building permit review and just continuing to explore.
What did you think about the Habitat for Humanity community that they built out Woody Mountain, there was a bunch of tiny houses. Did you have?
It's awesome, but outside of the scope of this.
Okay, but
Yeah.
isn't it kind of in that same?
It's a
vein?
similar small home, but those are primary homes.
Right,
Because
but the
they're,
notion being that they're taking, they must have plans and they're using, they're
They do.
designing.
and if we open
Small
up the
homes.
library again and they want to submit, that's awesome.
Okay,
Yeah. Anyway.
so much for that.
And then for outreach and engagement, we had a press release come out. We're doing some ongoing social media, putting out ads in the sustainability newsletter, did a city council announcement. And yeah, we're just continuing to look at like, how can we advertise this so that people know about it and, you know, hopefully buy an ADU. So we're thinking of presentations to more commissions, collaborating with other city divisions, tabling at events, maybe doing like an ADU tour. So this is a place that we could use some feedback where you guys think maybe that we could advertise this more and what more ideas for that would be.
I know we're out of time, so we'll send that out. And if anyone has ideas,
I
yeah.
just have one question. I mean, so it seems like it would be good, but why should homeowners do it? Like,
For their mothers-in-law.
so it's for, I mean, do they get to be a landlord of the ADU or?
Yeah, it depends.
Yeah. Airbnbs.
Yeah,
Big
we
time
go back
Airbnb.
real quick.
Creates more housing, gives people more flexibility with what they can do with their property,
Right, yeah.
possibility for extra income, like it's
It's a lot of things.
It's
Yeah.
affordable too.
Have any been built? Or
Not yet, because they just launched on January 9th. But I know that some designers, at least one designer's gotten contacted.
cool.
So,
I think this is great.
yeah.
Really
And there were a lot of ADUs already in town.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yes.
What type of, like, cost and time savings do you think this type of library will
Yeah.
present to?
Well, you save about 1,000-ish, well, depending on the size for ADU, maybe 500, 2,000 on your building plan for these. And then I think the cost for, it's really on that design and building plan fee cost, is really what this impacts. You know, I think custom plans, the nice thing about this is it has a set fee, so you know what the fee is. It varies by designer. I think that custom plans can cost like $5,000 or more maybe, and the maximum fee here is like $3,200. So it's several $1,000s. I mean, the biggest costs are with construction, absolutely, and this doesn't impact that, at least not yet. But again, we're looking into other options, especially with modular ADUs. But I think this can save several $1,000s at least in design and permitting.
I think a lot of what you save is time as well, because the design and just getting things approved and through the city review process, and these are already, they've been through the city review process, so you just, you don't have to worry about that part.
Just making sure it fits on your lot. So that's the only thing,
Right.
is encourage people to try to do as much due diligence as they can. Like, do they have easements? They have access issues, HOA. So that's the only thing that
Can't build it
could
in your
be,
neighbor's yard.
yeah, that could be tricky in the building plan, the permit review process. But yeah, everything else has been reviewed. And so it's like you just cut all of those other
Yeah.
potential hiccups out of the process. So that's the benefit of that. Cool.
Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
I think it turned out great.
Yes.
I'm excited to see how that goes.
I had a quick follow-up question, like post this project. Is there anything for like missing middle housing library in the works? at all?
Well, state law is gonna require that.
Oh, a
actually.
library.
Yeah, so there's a
Really?
state law that got passed that requires cities to have pre-approved ADU plans and single-family home plans later this year. But then middle of next year, required to have, I believe it's duplex, maybe triplex, maybe quadplex, and maybe just
Yeah.
duplex and triplex plans. So
Nice.
that is something that needs to happen for us to comply. So.
Nice. I didn't know there was a library component to this, so that's-
Yeah, we'll have pre-approved, plans, so
So
basically.
you're on
we're
top of things.
We're gonna have to, well, I don't know, I do the ADU stuff, so I don't want to speak for folks in planning, but we do have to have that to comply with state law, so that will be coming in somewhere.
Nice.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
law
the single
relative
family
to.
one even sooner. You said by the
Yes.
end of the year.
Yes,
Okay.
and we're figuring that out.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Email
new law
it to
relative
Mary.
to what the zoning has to do with.
Yeah,
having single family.
it's
And that got
Okay.
updated to
I
this
joined
middle,
teams.
our zoning code manager here. Yeah, exciting stuff. Lots of good stuff to promote more housing in Flagstaff
Yeah.
and more housing diversity, so.
It's been a
Thank
long
you,
time
everyone.
coming.
Yeah, for letting me, Jamie, mostly me talk for a really long time.
Enlightening as always, Genevieve.
And
And then we
also
have-
have email.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We have one more item of business, but before we get to that, I want to circle back to the approval of minutes from the November meeting. So just quickly, I would like to say, commissioners, is there any feedback? Are there any changes? Any comments? If not, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
I second the motion.
Thank you very much. All in favor saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. We have officially approved the minutes from the November Sustainability Commission meeting. Thank you, everybody. And Diane, we've got, I think, 5 minutes for
I
your
won't even need that.
summary
Yeah.
of the monthly Sustainability Division activities.
Yeah, so I thought that instead of going through the full report, which actually just kind of summarizes a lot of these things, I would just highlight our top 10 from last year,
Oh, that's
which
a good
came out
idea.
in the newsletter, if you read that. So these are like our top 10 sustainability of the entire division highlights. And just so everybody knows, our FSG award post was our top one for December. So we had a lot of like, I don't know, I think like 600 different interactions with it, which is a lot for us. But yeah, so I thought that was really great. And then just some other highlights on here. I think something that shows a lot of the community engagement and outreach that the whole office does. We hosted 238 events or workshops or presentations and interacted with 9,000 different community members, which is really cool. Among a lot of other really impressive stats, like diverting 69,000 pounds of waste through the waste prevention program. And then the other one is that I think is really cool and impressive is how many funds we distributed for our climate hazard preparedness program. So about $177,000 went directly to our community. It's great.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah. 1,200 different community members volunteered, which is also great for our community program.
And you launched volunteer Flagstaff connecting to 1200 community.
Yeah.
We have to sign up for that this next year.
Yeah. We'll be part of that 1,200 next year.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah. So that's it. I just wanted to highlight our top 10 that we sent out in our newsletter.
Very interesting done
Yeah.
and very
Keep up the
succinct.
good
We're
work.
very impressed.
Right. That's it for me.
Great, thanks,
you.
Dan. So next item on the agenda is to and from. Does anybody have anything to announce? Coming events or things they want to share with the commission for the record?
I do actually.
Okay, Commissioner Sherlock raised.
Oh,
his hand
sorry, yeah.
first.
I want to remind everyone that the state of Arizona has this, the possibility of reducing your tax burden by donating to an Arizona qualified charitable organization, and you can get, you can donate,
Tax credit. You get a tax credit.
you know, a dollar for dollar reduction in your taxes to a charitable organization. So I certainly have a tax obligation to Arizona, so I will take advantage of that, and I encourage everyone else to do it. And you can do that in addition to the money that you donate to your favorite school and get that tax advantage too. So there's a total of, I think, about $800 per person between the two dollar for dollar tax credits that you can get. So it doesn't cost you anything to donate to a school of your choice or your favorite
When did they have the schools
organization.
together? When did they put those together? That's interesting. I didn't know they did that.
Say what?
When did they put those together? When did you get to double dip on that? I don't remember that. That you can do a school and a charity.
I don't know when that happens, but it's,
For a while.
yeah, I don't think it's, anyway, I'm just reminding people. And if you happen to be somebody of my age, then you can also contribute to your favorite charity. It doesn't have to be Arizona qualified. It only has to be a 501c3, and you can contribute directly from your IRA to that charitable organization without paying income tax on that IRA distribution. So
Roger,
maybe send that information to Diane to share?
Yes, I have a newsletter, almost ready to go.
The only problem is we do short form, it's not gonna do a lot of good.
Well, yeah, I'm especially interested in this because the volunteer organization that I work for, or work with, I guess it's for, the cats,
Oh,
they're
yeah, we have a-
desperately short of money, and so and so I became acutely aware of just how you can contribute tax-free or tax benefit or in a variety of ways. So I just want to encourage, but there's lots of really good organizations, the food bank, the shelter,
But it's with the tax credit, if you don't owe money, you get that money back from the state. You get it, it's like, oh, you get
I
that,
don't think it's refundable.
the tax credit.
I don't know that it's refundable.
It's a tax credit.
it's a tax, well, if.
I don't owe the state any money.
If you don't owe the state any money, then
Then I
Then-
get money back from the state from it. It comes back as a refund.
no, it's only a tax credit. So if you don't owe,
That's not
if you,
what tax credits were.
if you don't have enough income, if you don't have a tax burden to Arizona, then, well, you don't get it dollar for dollar.
No, it isn't that. I pay too much in taxes, so I usually get money back and they add the tax credit on top of the money coming back.
That's right, yeah.
That's what
So
I'm
you even
saying.
get more back, yeah.
That's what I'm
yeah,
saying.
yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for that information.
Okay, so that's the flag.
And a plug for cats too.
That's,
Yeah.
that's my,
That's
that's
great.
my two.
Diane, what did you want to?
Yeah, two quick things. I just wanted to update everybody. I've had really successful kickoff and initial meetings with all of our FSG awardees. Everybody's funds have been distributed and plans are in
Good
place.
job.
Yeah, it's great. And I also have started meetings with every single one of last year's recipients. So I'm starting to get all the final reports, get all the pictures that have come in, and it's really great. And I want us to plan for our March meeting. We will have the sustainability showcase in place of our March meeting or the
Right, you said that.
discovery stroll. The discovery walk. The walk of dreams. Yeah. So I just wanted everybody to plan for that. And so far, there's only one current recipient who can't make that date, but I'll present for her, I think. So
Could you
thanks for having it on our regular
information?
agenda.
'Cause I
Yeah.
don't even-
Yeah.
My apologies. I mean, I looked at the ones I looked at, but I didn't look at everybody else's, the winning ones. I
from
would like
last year or this year?
This year, I'd like to look at which ones won this year because I only knew from my group. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Will it be the same time?
Yep.
4:30 to 6:30?
Same time. Yeah.
Mhm.
Exactly. So it'll be at the Market of Dreams.
I call it the walking groups.
Did you have a question for me?
If you build it, they'll come.
Yeah.
Okay, Diane, you said you had two things.
That's it.
Okay, okay, great.
So follow up on from last summer's summer retreat, and the two of those were the water and rail pollution concerns, and then told to be the point person on that. So I'm kind of curious on the timeline maybe for this spring that I can, I don't know, coordinate with Diane, get something on the agenda, just
April.
like some informational stuff.
Yeah.
Just wanted to
On the
make
rail.
sure that
April's
ball is
open.
rolling, yeah.
February is already full.
The
Oh,
rail.
let's do April.
Yeah.
And then we
February,
can coordinate what we want to do and
Yeah.
time frame.
February, we're gonna have both the CEO from our mountain line and the CEO from
Missoula.
Missoula's mountain line, which is their bus line is also called Mountain Line,
Yeah.
which took me a long time to figure out. They will both be presenting.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Cool.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any additional future agenda item requests? I mentioned earlier in the meeting, talking about our organic volunteer opportunities for a little bit. We can figure that out when we meet. Does anybody have anything else?
I would
Outside of
like
what
to
Cameron just
know more about Red Gap branches that comes up.
Okay, yes, I agree. Like just keep regular updates. Right, excellent. Okay, thank you, everybody. This meeting is adjourned.